This is an instructional video for the McNear website. I wanted to show you more about the media library. To be clear, all these folders on the left here have nothing to do with where these images show up on the site. They're just organized like this so that you can find them again. So if you put, something in the commercial series McNear Red collection here, that will have zero bearing on where it shows up on the site. Now, it does happen to be that when we look at project galleries, that this organization basically matches, but again, it was so you could more easily find it. So let's just look at this. So the basic folder structure here, images on the home page. It says logos, but basically it's the McNear logo in a couple of formats. Backgrounds and icons. I don't think we really ended up using a lot of, maybe we're using this one. Some of the stuff ultimately can probably get deleted when we clean up the site for launch. The placeholders folder could conceivably go away at launch. These are images that were used a lot when we were creating pages and putting placeholders in. I think where we really, other than the home page, where we really start looking at folders of substance or colors. So these are all your swatches. First organized by product. And then named. So it's important to know where these are simply because if you end up wanting to switch out a bunch of images for the swatches that show up on the color pages, it's probably easier to just do it right in the media library than to go to project galleries and then to colors. Because ultimately what you are is replacing what's in the media library. So for this particular task, although we did show you the one way, the more direct way, if you're going to be doing this in bulk, is probably here. So if I click on one of these, it's going to take me to the detail, and then you're going to see that update new file here. So just a reminder, if I click that, this is selected which I want. I'd browse for the new image. And we've got a whole, other video which talks to you about what to keep in mind when you're replacing these images. And that video is called, we'll just go ahead and look at your YouTube page for a second. Color page swatches. And so that we'll talk more about sizing and things to consider. This is just showing you another way to get to that same task. So go ahead and click cancel, and we'll go back to the media library. So the projects folder, all of these images tie to project galleries, which we'll look at in more detail in another video. On some of these images, when they got organized, I had to make some guesses. They weren't all, most of them were labeled pretty good, but there were some that were not. Did put one in the wrong one. You can drag and drop these. So again, this has no bearing on where they show up on the site. It's so that you can find them again. So it just made sense to keep a similar organization. But if, let's say, I put under McNear Red and it should be under Tuscan, you can just drag it over here and it'll go there. You can do that with multiple images at a time. Other than organization, I know you're going to want to add a bunch of new ones. If I'm in the, so two things about organization. If I'm in this folder already, it should just add it to them. I want to do it with one where I will be able to delete it again super clearly. Okay, this one, because I want to put in an example, but I want to be able to delete it again. So if I do that, I can see it updating on the side. When it's done updating, it's going to then show up down here. So again, if you want to upload files, I would navigate to the folder you want it to be in and then add them. And then if you realize, oh, I'm in the wrong folder, I didn't mean to do that, you can just drag it to the right one. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these because I didn't really mean to have these be in here. So click it, delete. Yes, I mean forever, ever. So to me, this is step one. If you want to add stuff in the gallery, it'll make it easier to find when you're actually creating galleries. If you need to add one, because I know we're missing a ton. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to add, so you can see, so this is a collection, and it's specific to images. And obviously I only made, they're called galleries inside of a collection. I only made a gallery for things where we had images for it, which means that there's stuff missing here. So let's say you now all of a sudden have some project images for Cornwall under paving brick projects in the commercial series. We definitely have a lot of Cornwall in the, the regular using it as a wall kind of brick, but under paving brick we only had it for McNear, Red, and Tuscan. So let's say we now have a bunch of paving brick project images for Cornwall under commercial. So we need to add a gallery here under this collection. So what I do is select the parent. So in this case I'm going to have commercial selected under paving brick projects. And just so you can get a visual on this, paving brick projects, interlocking paver projects. The organization gets easier to see when you collapse things a little bit. Anyway, so I'm just going to hit this button here to add a new gallery. I'm going to call it Cornwall. And obviously there's nothing in here, which is why there's no number to the right, but then I could select this and start adding pictures and they'd show up in here, which I suspect is something you're going to need to do. Let's look at the other. So shapes and size diagrams. This folder isn't really separated out or anything. They're just kind of in there because there wasn't really enough files to warrant separating these into a billion folders. And it's also pretty visually clear. They're very visually different. In another video, we can look at how line images are created. But for the purpose of this, if you have a new line image, you're going to go ahead and just upload it into this folder. If you wanted to replace one, and we are going to want to replace quite a few of these, and say we wanted to replace this one, again, it's just going to be the same process. I do think it's going to be much easier for you to replace them as you recreate them than to add new and delete the old ones. The technical specs folder is pretty enormous, but it just wasn't clear on any other way to organize it. So basically each one has its own folder, like interior floor. And then inside of it are the different file types for the same thing. So as you add more, then you're just going to add a folder for it. And then it'll show up down here. As far as reordering folders, you just click the rearrange button. And then if you wanted to, let's say, have string course before soldier, you could do that. just in case you were wondering. And then when you're done, you'd click Done. If ever you're down here going, where's all the content? Just scroll up. You'll probably end up finding what you're looking for eventually. This gets pretty long just because we have so many folders in here. And then this last folder we saw in use, right? It's the product landing page. So just the stuff that's used on all those product landing page I organized in here. So let's see, what else do you need to know? Okay, when you're adding or making images, I would really try to stick with JPEGs. They are much smaller than PNGs. And because this site has a white background, so the only reason that you would use a PNG is when you want transparency on an image that isn't a straight rectangle or a square. But let's say the content image, let's say, has, it stops here, and then this corner needed to be transparent, then a PNG would make sense. On this site, most of our images are rectangles or squares, number one. And number two, on the few instances where we are having some issues with things maybe not filling the complete area, like on the slideshow, the background of the site is white, and so I can put it on a white background and make it a JPEG, and therefore instantly it becomes a less heavy image. So that was just one comment that I wanted to make about imagery. And so I'd say that's it. I just kind of wanted to show you around here. Let's see some other things we wanted to look at it. Let's say I wanted to rename this folder. Just select the folder and then click the pencil. When I'm done, I'd click OK. And then it says, well, that's not a new name. But had I changed it, we would have been fine. So cancel. That's what I'd use to delete a folder. We already looked at that. And then this is kind of the same as this, honestly. It's pretty much the same button. Anyway, so that's just looking at the media library and just talking about how things are organized and why they were organized that way. Next, some of this will be good. This video will be good companion material for some other videos, like brick diagrams. It's a good companion video for changing the color swatch, and for project galleries, as well as technical documents.